Good morning, hope you're doing well. Welcome to TalkCrypto. Thanks for tuning in, and if you're new to the show, give us a quick like, subscribe, do all those really amazing things. I really appreciate it. Today, a quick update, Friday the 17th of May. I can't believe we're getting through May so quickly, it's crazy. And Bitcoin is, what is it, 66? It was 66.5, I think it's just dipped down to about 66.1. So yeah, it's doing its thing. I suspect, you know, in the not too distant future, we're going to be seeing a big pump past the all-time high, and we'll see what happens next. You know, as we know, we don't know the future. We can't, you know, predict it, but we can, we can have a theory. We can have a guess. We can look at charts. We can, you know, have a, you know, our own thesis, but everything is a probability, guys. No one knows the future. Quick update on the $1 a day sats. So I got my $1 a day, and we got, what was it, 1,867 sats. Pretty similar to yesterday, I think, from memory. So again, so keep stacking those sats. Again, if you're new to the show, this is something I'm doing every day and documenting whenever I do a video, and do it for the next sort of 10 years, just to encourage people, if they haven't already, to dip their toe into Bitcoin, just with a little bit of money, not too much, but just do it consistently. And yeah, just to see, let's see what happens. Let me know what you think will happen to those sats in 10 years time. How much will, you know, will 1,867 sats still be worth $1 in 10 years time? I don't think they will be. Tell me what you think. So just to talk about a little bit of something I saw on GB News this morning. It was interesting. There was a conversation about. I missed the beginning of it. I think they were referring to. I might be wrong. Correct me if I am in the comments. But I think they were talking about an Australian bank that's looking to stop using paper money. I think I might be wrong. And there was a lady, and there was a guy sort of discussing the pros and cons. The lady basically said, yeah, but you know, her only argument, in all honesty, was young people aren't really using cash anymore. No one's using cash. What's the point? And the other benefit being, well, you know, you're not going to get this, you know, you're not going to get mugged for your money anymore. So that was literally the best that she could come up with. Apparently she's a money blogger. I don't know who she is, so I don't, you know, I don't ever like to speak bad of people or take the mick or anything like that. I think it's, you know, hopefully we can have a strength in our own arguments, and, you know, let, you know, everyone make their own decisions. So, you know, we all do our best in this world, and, you know, I'm sure she is too. So it's not about that. Is my point. I'm not a sort of, you know, anyway, blah blah blah. You get the gist. The other chap, interestingly, was talking about, well, you know, it's money is a part of a national identity, which actually, you know, it's a fair point. You know, those British pounds, you have a certain sort of pride in your. Well, maybe not everyone does, but I have a little bit of national pride in my country, and I'm sure, you know, those of you in America, you know, you see a US $1 bill, and it's, you know, it gives you, you know, maybe not, and in other countries as well. So there's that. There's the fact, you know, and he, again, other points where he was saying, you know, well, some businesses, that's all they use, and it's not a case of them trying to do anything dodgy. It's just that they've always dealt in cash, so to suddenly turn that off for them is problematic. And you know, he made a really good argument about the older generation who aren't used to technology, who have always dealt with cash. And also, actually, as you know, guys, well, for those of you who do tune in, these are one-take videos, so yeah, they're a little bit rough and ready, and I'm often thinking as we're going, so forgive me. But the other point he made, which was again a really interesting one, and I get things do change, And but when I was a kid, I learned a lot about money from actually having the physical money, counting those pennies, those 2p's, 5p's, 10p's, pounds, 50p's, all the rest of it. And you count it, and you get used to managing money, go to a shop, get the change, counting it up, the paper money as well. And you definitely had a sense of value, much more when it was in a physical form, much more so than when it was in a digital form. There was a real value element to it, and it made you think more carefully about spending your money, because you're physically having to give a physical thing over. And I think certainly, if the younger generation, and I know this might be a generational thing, but if the younger generation don't have money to learn to count and play with and appreciate, then is that losing something? I'm not sure, I don't know, but there was that element as well. And but the big one, which I was quite impressed with, because it wasn't a Bitcoin-y conversation. It was a regular mainstream news channel, and I was really pleased that he brought this up. He said, if they get rid of cash, they're going to bring in a CBDC, a centralized digital currency, and that basically means your privacy is gone. And I was very, very pleased that he mentioned this, because it's important to get this to the mainstream. Again, the lady unfortunately didn't really have any other arguments other than the ones I mentioned earlier. And again, there isn't much of an argument when we consider what that actually means. The great thing with cash has always been the privacy element, and ultimately all of our money, what we do with our money, should be private. It shouldn't be down to anybody overseeing it and deciding whether we are allowed to buy something or not allowed to buy something. Obviously, there's laws and legal requirements not to buy illegal goods and services or whatever it is. But ultimately, our money is private. We as individuals, as sovereign individuals, should have privacy, and we should be able to spend what we want without any oversight or anyone questioning it, or anyone saying, oh, are you sure about that? Should you be doing that? Well, you know what, if I want to do it, I'll bloody well do it. It's about living in a free society. So that's always been the great thing with cash. And obviously, as the use of cash, unfortunately, is diminished, there's been this more and more, the banks have, just within, the regular system, starts questioning what you're spending online, and they say, oh, maybe we'll stop this payment because we think it's suspicious, or you can't transfer your funds here, or you can't do this, etc., etc. We've all seen it, heard it, maybe even experienced it. And but the biggest point is going back to the privacy, where cash is great with that respect. The CBDCs, and again, if you're not familiar with them, is basically the way that governments are exploring and going to be introducing a centralized digital currency, which basically means they'll have blockchain technology to watch what you're doing, watch what you're spending. If one day, you've been a naughty boy, or you've had your allocation of carbon credits for the month, they might turn around and say, no, we're not letting you spend more money on your V8, I don't know, Lamborghini or Ferrari, because you've spent enough money, you've had enough carbon credits for this month, and we're not letting you fuel your car, or whatever it is. The point is they can oversee what you're spending your money on, what you're doing, etc., etc. It's dystopian. It's total control. It's living in a totalitarian communist world, effectively. Obviously, China have already, I think they've already started to introduce it. Which I might actually look up, might do some reading about, because I'm not familiar what's happening with it, and how it's all going there. So that's the danger of CBDCs. The problem is, I think it's the pattern of behavior with international organizations and governmental organizations, it's mission creep, inch by inch, and slowly but surely things will change over time, because obviously trying to change something fundamentally big and huge, in a short period of time, there's likely to be pushback. But when people don't really notice it and it's just happening slowly, a little bit like inflation at the 2% rate, where they're constantly basically just taking a little bit of money of you, a little bit of theft every single month, every single day, every single year, but you don't really notice it because it's just a little bit, and it's incremental. And that's the danger with CBDC. So if people aren't clued into it, like this lady clearly wasn't, or indeed maybe some people love the idea of having a complete control state in communism. I'm sure there are people out there who do, but I certainly don't, and I'm sure you don't either. So it's very important that people like that chap call out the dangers of CBDCs, the lack of privacy, the danger of oversight, the control that we will lose as sovereign individuals. And of course, this is where Bitcoin comes into play. Bitcoin is decentralized. It's not controlled, and it can't be controlled by anybody. And that is the magic of Bitcoin. Bitcoin came out of the gate, bang, perfect. Yes, I know, I've talked about it before, and they've obviously, do incremental little tweaks and improvements, but ultimately Bitcoin was fundamentally perfect from the get-go, which is incredible. And it's a path to freedom. It's the lifeboat. I've said this before in another video. So yeah, so I just wanted to bring you up to speed on that little bit of news coming into the mainstream. That was quite interesting, and interesting that they're talking about these topics. And I think the more we talk about the dangers of CBDCs and push back at those things, the better. And we need to opt out of the current fiat system. Of course, I talked about cash, the benefits of some cash. The benefits of cash, not some cash, of cash, and digital money like Bitcoin. Yeah, there is challenges for the older generation who aren't as familiar with technology, and that's something we need to overcome as technologists. We need to figure out how to make the UI experience better, improve it for people, improve accessibility for people who aren't as familiar with technology, or a little bit scared of technology. So that is a challenge. Yeah, that is a challenge. The experience of children, learning the value of money by counting it and all the rest of it. Again, we've got to reinvent that experience, and I'm sure that's one of those. In my day, we used to do it like this. Every generation is going to learn differently. Every generation is going to have different experiences. So maybe that's just one of those things that we just have to accept. But maybe the benefit, of course, is more financial education for younger people, because Bitcoin is a freedom solution to so many things. And I think it captures the imagination of young people. I think lots of young people will learn a lot more financial literacy than they ever would in the legacy system, where it's not really there for them, and they feel like they've been left behind. They feel like they've been disenfranchised. House prices are getting crazy. You can't buy a fraction of a house. You've got to buy the whole house. And I can't do that because my income's not enough, or whatever it is. So I think the great thing with Bitcoin is it gives people that opportunity to not only plan and invest in their future, but equally it teaches them those important financial lessons and experiences, which I think a lot of young people are learning purely off the back of Bitcoin, which is phenomenal, which is absolutely amazing. Most of these people wouldn't have been learning these things or topics, or diving into these discussions and debates, or listening to videos like this, if it was just talking about mainstream stocks and shares and whatever it is. Listen to some financial advisor saying, invest in your pension fund and whatever it is. It doesn't really appeal to a lot of young people. So I think there's huge benefits there with Bitcoin and even the wider crypto space. I know a lot of Bitcoiners dismiss the other crypto bits. But yeah, so that was it really, guys. Listen, I'm gonna love you and leave you. The video's 15 minutes or so. It's a beautiful day. I've got a meeting shortly, so I need to go and prepare for that. And I hope you have a great day. Like I said, give us a like, give us a subscribe, you know, hang out with me as I'm driving the car between sort of, you know, things that I'm doing, and we can chew the fat about Bitcoin. And you know, I'm starting to think, do I talk about the other crypto stuff? I'm just really enjoying talking about Bitcoin. And yeah, it's I think it's so important. It's absolutely so important. That's why my focus has, you know, started to go down this a little bit more than you know, than I was planning to. But I think one thing I am thinking about, actually, which I'll ask you guys, is should I change the show to talk Bitcoin rather than talk crypto? I did have a comment ages ago, somebody saying maybe I should do that. But actually, one thing I'm thinking is actually by keeping the title Talk Crypto, and maybe occasionally talking about crypto, because I am interested in technology in the wider space. So at some point, I'm sure I'll dive into those topics a bit more. I think it's a great way to not disenfranchise the newbies, because inevitably newbies buy Bitcoin, but then go crazy and buy other stuff. And I think some of the challenges with just being so like maximalist in Bitcoin, because I'm not. Whether I become eventually, I don't know, but I think the typical path isn't. And I don't want to disenfranchise people. You know, you want to show them the light. So by having a Talk Crypto show, it potentially, it's gone a little bit dark, I don't know, enables that, if that makes sense. And you can slowly teach people actually the differences and why Bitcoin is so important. So yeah, just a little thought experiment there. That's something that's going in the back of my mind. Yeah, listen guys, I'm going to stop jabbering. We've had enough of this. You've got lots of stuff to get on with, I'm sure. I'm going to love you, leave you. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll catch you hopefully tomorrow. Take care, guys.